You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey there, No Labels, No Limits podcast listeners. I want to grab just a couple of minutes before we start today's podcast and let you know about a new membership community that's opening up. It's called the Sandbox. Now, the Sandbox was explicitly designed so that folks like you who have big dreams and goals, who are working on busting through limiting labels and beliefs, who are overcoming challenges, have a place to come, to be encouraged, to get tips and tools, to meet other people and share ideas, and just relax. So as a member, you're going to have exclusive access to an extensive library of training, tools, and resources that have been meticulously crafted over the years. But that's not all. You are actually in the driver's seat, so you can help shape the direction of the content and the Sandbox. So what's actually in the Sandbox? Well, there will be expert sessions that will be tailored to your needs with a focus on the questions that come from our community. There are group learning sessions, live trainings, Q&A sessions, and we will be sharing inspiring membership success stories. You will have an opportunity to learn and grow alongside fellow Sandbox community members. If you need guidance or support, our online forum is going to be the perfect space to engage with other members, ask questions, find motivation, and share your success with the Sandbox community. We are committed to your success, and that's why we're offering monthly challenges and support check-ins, ensuring you're always on track. So click the link below and put your name either on the waiting list or sign up today for the Sandbox community, and we'll see you there where the dreams will be unleashed and you will start making rapid progress. Hey there, No Labels, No Limits podcast listeners. Welcome to this episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast, a podcast all about helping action takers and decision makers like you align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life. And we're going to dig into things that might surprise you about what those goals really are. But I'm here to tell you that the life you want to live is possible with the right focus and intent, then followed by your support group mindset and strategy. So on today's podcast, we are joined by Misha Rubin. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet Misha. We've been chatting a little bit before we came live with you, but he's someone who is transforming lives and careers as a highly accomplished career strategist and CEO of Career Leap. Misha's mission is to facilitate meaningful, intentional life change, both at work and in life. Ooh, see the alignment there, folks? With a wealth of experience, Misha specializes in helping professionals and executives find their true calling, unleash their full potential, and thrive in their careers. He spent 15 remarkable years at Ernst Young. For folks who don't pay attention to finances and accounting, they're the big deal. He's achieved the prestigious position of partner. And during that time, he served as an advisor to numerous Wall Street executives, managed high-value projects with hundreds of millions, and guided countless professionals and executives on their career journeys. I would also say those are pretty high-stress environments, both probably for you as a guide and them as the people on the floor. His expertise, though, extends far beyond the realm of professional success, and he's intimate in his understanding of the challenges about balancing, those worldly achievements that we think we want and the pursuit of purpose and fulfillment. And that's why he's dedicated to finding practical answers to the important questions surrounding purpose and impact in the workplace. And I'd say it goes beyond the workplace. So today, Misha and I are going to dig into conversation about him, his past, his insights, and we're going to dig in specifically to how to live life fully, whether personal or professional or in other areas. So with that, let's welcome Misha. Hi, Misha.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I've been looking forward to this. I got to tell you, I did a little background checking on you, which is leading me up to my very first question, which is nothing we've talked about. But I want to ask you to share a bit about your journey and why you decided to do the work you're doing today, but specifically how your music, the music side of you, your artist side, influences you.
Oh my God. You did some research. So I'm taking you to this moment. It was a little bit over 3 years ago where I'm sitting in a conference room with other executives in management consulting firm where I worked, and everybody's discussing some important topics in serious voice. And then I hear myself speak, in my corporate voice, very serious. And as I'm speaking, I hear my quiet voice that tells me, you're not going to do this anymore. The only thing, my quiet voice wasn't that polite in expressing its idea. So at that time, I was a partner at Ernst Young for over 5 years. I was making more money than an immigrant from Ukraine could have ever imagined. And I had this role with a lot of responsibilities, but also like a trophy also at the same time. And at the same time, I was a breadwinner, had 3 small kids. I didn't really have a clear idea what I wanted to do. So, but that was like a moment of truth for me and I jumped off the cliff. And I usually say, it's not a good idea to jump off the cliff, but that's what I did. And as I was flying off the cliff, I was thinking that actually I know a lot of people that are not fulfilled in their jobs. And while we educated on zillion of topics around all types of subjects, nobody gives us career education. So nobody teaches us, how do you choose the right path for you? What is the right industry? What is the right profession? When is the right time to make change? How do you even approach it? So as a good management consultant, I took a lot of the skills that I learned in business and in management consulting, and I developed my own framework of tools that I call the Career Leap Method. And I've been using it for the past 3 years, guiding executives and professionals in discovering what it is they really want to do in life and how to actually accomplish that.
So what is let's go back to my second part of the question. How has your artistry, your music, influenced how you think about your work or even approach it? Or does it?
So my music was this burst of it was like this burst of energy before we adopted 3 children in 2 years, So I tell you, I haven't been a musician since my kids were born because that pretty much killed it. But I am an artist in my heart. So right. I do a lot of things. So I do approach my business and my teaching and my life as a work of art. So I would say it's not that music influences my business, but me being an artist in heart influenced my music and influencing my business and influencing how I live my life in general.
I'm not sure, even though you're not actively playing or doing your music, do you ever really stop being a musician in your being?
I call it an artist. So I'm not attached to the medium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through periods where I painted a little bit, where I designed jewelry, where I wrote a blog. So I had all different periods of my life that kind of come together like that.
I kind of think the work you do now, also working with executives and, leaders and professionals, is art as well, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're not sticking everybody in the same thing. You have to be fluid and be with them.
Well, this is an interesting point. Like every art has science in it.
Yes.
So the Career Leap Method is the science, but you kind of really need to understand the art, right, to be able to extract the science. So in the Career Leap Method, I wanted to articulate the process, the ideas that one would need to go through in order to discover what they want to do and pursue it, right? And of course, there is art to it, as to any science. So it's all integrated.
So give us an example, if you would, just a little bit about the framework. Pretend I'm coming to you as a burnout executive. I've been that, so I can play that role pretty well. What are we going to talk about? What's the plan?
Let me maybe give you a few examples because I think that will make it more real for people.
Perfect.
I'll give you some of my favorites. So there was this wonderful lady came to me. She's an architect, and she's like, Misha, get me out of the architecture. It's impossible to be a woman architect. So she was working in this old school architectural firm and was so just disappointed, and almost like disgusted with just her experience of working there. And one of the core things that I work with people is on developing their career blueprint. So if you really think about knowing what to do in life is really a function of understanding who you are and what you want. And that's from there you can explore what you can be doing. So career blueprint is really a lot about that. And a part of career blueprint is understanding career blueprint is like a blueprint of a building, right? Of your dream house. So, and the building blocks of career blueprint are different career criteria. And some of them are, I call them innate criteria related to how you are. This is how you are. It's your vocational value system. It's your motivational mechanism, is your strength paradigm. It's all these things that so once we did the work with her, she was like, oh my God, I remembered why I fell in love with architecture and why I chose architecture as my field. I love architecture. I would love to be an architect. I'm just working in the wrong place. So this is just an example of somebody who just fell in love with what it is.
But it's a great example because it's a false premise. She thought she hated architecture, but it was the box that she was living in, not the architect world itself, right? Because she felt hemmed in, or that she couldn't express herself from her values and why she wanted to be there.
Exactly. But if you think about all our life journey and career journey included is full of these, limiting beliefs and limiting understanding of things that box us into a particular point of view about life. I'll give you another example.
Perfect.
There's a gentleman came to me and, he's been doing good work, been 10 years in the same company, was getting good reviews that really didn't translate into a pay or career path or fulfillment or satisfaction, And he had 2 small children and he was depressed. Like there was no way out. It's very hard to live your life fully when you're not happy at work, So, and then, one thing that we distinguish with him is that he used to be like a badass. He used to do sports and take risks. And then he got a corporate job, he got married, he got kids, and then he became like a good boy, and as a good boy, he was getting good performance reviews, but really not being himself, right? And well, this is what he did. He went to his boss and asked for a 70% raise. Can you imagine? And I usually say, I don't care about your raise. I don't care even whether you get a new job. I don't care about what I care about is that you're clear and empowered. Because if you are clear and empowered, you will be taking amazing actions and you will be accomplishing amazing things. So you can imagine how clear and empowered one have to be to go and ask for his boss for 70% raise, right? Well, he didn't get the raise, but the blueprint that we built, we used to find him, a director position in one of the most innovative companies in the industry. He moved his family to different state. I was speaking with him not that long ago. He's like, Misha, it's like a whole new life. I created a whole new life for myself. So that, that's amazing. To me, that's amazing when people, so I think career is just one aspect of our life, but it's almost like we need to become fully alive inside, right? And then we can have a great career and that will impact our quality of life and our relationships and our engagement with our community.
Totally agree. Because you can feel when the light goes out of someone. And I was just visiting with someone not long ago, and I've known her for many, many years. And I looked at her and I was asking her, what's your update, right? Because she was going through a lot of career stuff. I said, I have to tell you, I've never seen you so light. She's not a depressed person. She's a high energy person. She's great.
Yes.
I said, but there is a lightness to you. And she goes, yeah, I just figured out I don't need someone's permission.
Yes, right.
Right. How big is that? Right. She is so talented and stuff. She goes, I don't need their permission. I'm going, right on, because it's that sense of self. So when he asked for a 70% raise, and he used to be a risk taker, I'm thinking, That's like jumping off a little cliff, right? You're going to get a yes or a no or pound sand. You're out of here. But he took the risk. That you can't do that and not change your self-perception.
Yes. His wife said in my testimonial, he said that he's like a different person, So that, by the way, that impacted his relationship, because suddenly he was a different person, right? And he was probably a more fun person to be with.
Probably the person she met and fell in love with first.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
So, you've been working in this field and people are coming to you. What are you seeing? I know a lot of people having these conversations, but are folks taking the steps forward to shift or test the assumptions, or are they just staying where they are and just going, like globally, not just the people who work with you, but when you look outside and get your data and stuff, what are you seeing?
I think people more in tune, but I think there's a lot of fear. And when I think about this, I usually say, this is what you need to understand. We live in some absolutely extraordinary circumstances that nobody ever had before. You just need to appreciate it. So you can have your fear, right? But you need to appreciate that nobody ever had like remote work and the fewest amount of geographic boundaries than we currently have today, right? Nobody ever had that. Nobody had this unprecedented access to learning that we have, that you can sit on your couch, get an MBA, you can get a certificate from an Ivy League college, you can learn for free or very inexpensively if you want. Like nobody ever had that. If you think about a barrier to starting your own business, when I came up with a Career Leap idea, I posted on Facebook, I posted on LinkedIn, and I got my first 3 clients. What did it take 30 years ago to start a business?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if you think about the barrier, I'm not saying it's easy to start a business, and I don't recommend that it's a good idea for everybody. I'm just saying the barriers to that are very small. And then the fourth argument, our society, COVID pandemic, artificial intelligence is going through massive transformation. And while it comes with pain, it always comes with a lot of opportunity. So we're living in this time where these 4 pillars of remote work, of low barriers to start the business, unprecedented access to learning, and transformation in society. I don't know what generation had this, and I don't know how it's going to last. And like maybe AI will dramatically impact our careers. It will take probably still some time to make this a really big impact. But right now we're living at the most, I don't even know to say, fruitful time to not just have a career, but be in charge of your career, but have really amazing choices, be really thoughtful about what you want to do. And I think it's time to take advantage of that.
What role does personal initiative and intent play in your work or in work in general, for taking advantage of our opportunities?
I would say it's number one thing, right? It all comes out of our wanting, and if you really look at our deeper wanting about what we want, and what really makes us tick in this life is, and it's different for different people, right? But for some people it is creating, some people solve problems, some people moved by contribution to other people, so there is a lot of, but you need to do this work around yourself to understand what is your, like I call it, vocational value system, right? And then from there you can be like, oh, I know exactly why I'm not fulfilled with this current job. It's not just an intuitive feeling that I have. I actually now have a criteria of which industries or what type of organizations or what type of roles would work for me. So suddenly you have moving from kind of some type of a vague intuition feeling to, okay, there is actually a process to that. There are specific criteria that help me make these really sound decisions for myself.
That's helpful for folks who really want to validate decisions as well. I mean, some folks don't care. It's like, nope, that's what I need to do, and they'll do it. Others need evidence, like, why should, or am I being crazy? So
Can I just say it's great to
Please.
have evidence? Like I want people to make very thoughtful, conscious decisions. So I actually, go collect all the evidence. And I think also that what will help you deal with fear. Because part of the reasons that people are afraid of change, because change is really objectively scary. You don't really know what's on the other side, whether you get a new job or make a career change. Will it be better? Will you be happier? Will you make enough money? Do you have the right skills? There's all these questions and if you ask all these questions to yourself, it is really scary. And then you'll stay paralyzed, which is, by the way, a lot of people stay paralyzed. Now, that's why I say don't commit to change, commit to exploration.
Mm-hmm.
But what if inside of exploration, you will get to not an abstract idea, but a very specific idea? And then you can actually answer your questions. Do you have the right skills? Will you make enough money? Is it worthwhile pursuing? Now, that will eliminate a lot of your fears and a lot of unknowns. And then you can instead of jumping off the cliff, you can make a leap. Now, it can still be scary and it can still be risky, but we're talking about a very different level of fear and risk, but then when you have no idea what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's different than just walking into a blind alley that you don't know what you're going to find, right? Because you've already...
And that's why, and that's what keeps people stuck, that tremendous fear, right? So, and because they're not really allowing themselves to explore, and whatever's on the other side is so dark and you don't know what it is, then you become stuck.
Absolutely. The other thing, Misha, that I've found and would be really interested in your take on it is once people get started, when they're working with you and they're taking these baby steps to find evidence or examine, do you find that the more they do that, the easier it is for them to make shifts?
Yeah, I think it's all like if you look at a human decision-making process, right? A lot of it comes from having the right information, right? That's how we make decisions. So the more information we have, the better decisions we make. So in this particular case, you want to have information about yourself. So that's where I do a lot of work on your career blueprint. So that's related. There's innate criteria, there's aspirational criteria, there's integrational criteria. There's all these criteria, which is like, oh my God, now I know who I am and what I want. Isn't just that amazing? And by the way, having that information, you can make huge improvements at your current job because suddenly you know what you need to work on, right? And then the other piece of information, what's out there. And this is with my clients, we do this. This is my favorite thing to do. Then we build what I call it the career leap map, which is a list of ideas of where and what you could be doing. And I usually say, explore all ideas. They don't need to be practical. You're not committing to any of them. Just allow yourself. Maybe there are businesses. Maybe there are nonprofits you want to start. Maybe there are different industries that you're interested in. Maybe there are different roles. Just let's explore. And someplace there between your career blueprint and your career leap map in the intersection, someplace there will be more viable leaps that you can choose. And sometimes what I find people like, well, I'm not ready for this right now, but I might be ready for this like in 2 years or in 10 years.
But now that it's on their radar, well, now it's on their radar. When it comes along, they can go, oh yeah, I remember considering this, right? Now I can consider it again and either go for it or not. So you were going to say, you had another story.
I want to give another example. So
please.
So this woman comes to me, an international tax attorney. Oh my God, so smart. Yeah, I know. I usually feel like, oh my God, some people are so smart. Like you had to go through so much education and learn so much just to have, and then do this work. And she's like, I hate it. And the only two options that I see, either I need to keep doing this or I need to start my own business. So one of the reasons that people feel trapped is because the ideas they're considering are either not exciting or they're not viable. So for her, starting her own business, she doesn't have capital. She never designed a product. She doesn't know how to start a business. So then it makes you feel really trapped. So we did her career blueprint, and then we started working her career leap map. And she's like, well, I really, she had she had two kids. And she's like, I'm very interested in children's education, in safety, and the business idea I have is a product for children. And then, she narrowed down. The next thing I know, she's calling me, Misha, you won't believe it. I just got a gig It's an international startup, children educational toy. There is an operational role. By the way, we looked at the types of roles in which she would excel, and we said she's very detailed oriented and go-getter type of a person based on her strengths, by the way. We looked at her roles. She's like, oh, COO or operational type of role would be great for her. So she got a gig. And she said, not only like I am going to do more towards what I really want to do, I will see for myself whether starting a business is the right idea for me. And if it is, I'll be learning from this experience, right? So suddenly, and that's what I find very helpful when people create a longer term leap for themselves. So any vision you create for your future can guide you at the present and could give you clarity in the present, because suddenly it made sense. I had another example with another lawyer who wanted to become like a leader of a nonprofit, and then she ended up being, starting to work as a lawyer and a manager in a foundation, so there are a bunch of different examples of how your longer term vision could help you make a shorter term decision that takes you a little bit closer to that.
And each step you can decide, it's kind of like that little game, hot potato, cold potato, right? Am I going in the right direction? Well, let's move a little bit different.
You got it. That's what I mean. That's why I don't call them goals. I call them visions, right? Yeah. So you create a vision today. It's guiding you today. You made a step forward. You re-examined everything, and then you can change it. And then basically that's the life of creation, is continuously redesigning your vision, redesigning your leap, like where are you heading? So
switching gears on you.
Okay.
Who have been your mentors along the way? Who have you learned and helped do your philosophy and your foundation for you?
I did a lot of study. So it didn't just come. I studied with transformational teachers, with meditational teachers, with ontological teachers. So I went through lately I'm obsessed with Byron Katie, I even got a chance to speak with her about a year ago. But, I always have a teacher and a mentor, whether they kind of in real life. And then the other thing that I work with my clients and that what I implemented in my life is creating a board of supporters, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people that, are supportive of you, that could advise you, that could mentor you, that could guide you. And I surrounded myself by these folks in my life also. And that's what I'm teaching to others, how to do that.
How many? So the reason I'm asking this question is because we're doing something similar. Because I think about people say, well, I don't have support. And I'm going, but it's all around us. If we look, like, what am I looking for? Who could help me in this moment? So like you said, whether they're in real time or somewhere else, like they may not even know they're your mentor or supporter. Byron Katie, what a great example. So when you advise people, how large do you say their board of support should be? I
don't advise necessarily on the size, but I usually say there are several categories that need to be met. Right? Perfect. So you have, number one, your life partners, your spouses, significant others. If you have them, it's very hard to implement change without having their support. And how did I learn that? I had this amazing client, this amazing woman who got her husband through medical school, helped him start a medical business, gave a birth and raised 2 children while having her own career that she had to make some type of a twist to accommodate everything, right? So here she is, it's her time. She is working with me. She developed a beautiful leap. She was so excited about it. And then I had a question. I said, did you speak to your husband about it? And there was a pause, and she's like, well, I hinted it to him, but he's not the type of a person that would understand it. And I'm like, okay. So this is a very tight marriage, financially and emotionally. How this could be even possible? So we distinguished a disempowering belief. My husband is not the type of a person who understands it. And her assignment was to talk to her husband. He was super supportive, and they got closer in their marriage, right? So this is how it works, right? So partners, and I call them life partners. So those are super important. Some other people with whom you have this type of a close niche dependency. The second group, your partners in crime. Okay, this is a very interesting group because this is what I usually tell people. Do you know that most of communication that happens in our society, those are either complaints or gossips, right? So you're either complaining how something is not working, or you're talking about other people, which is a gossip, right? And through my work and the work that we do in the Career Lead program, you get to talk about some really profound topics about your vocational values, about what's your future like. So I usually say, choose a person that you want to deepen your relationship with. You can start with one person, right? It could actually solve a lot of things to have one person like that. And you choose that person very consciously. And then, develop an ongoing conversation with them. It's not like accidentally you meet. No, you speak once a week or every other week consistently. That's a board of, that's your partner in crime. And then there are mentors or advisors. So those are the people that know more than you. So especially when people making a leap into a different industry or a different role, you need to introduce these people that have this knowledge that you don't. And my favorite are cheerleaders. I have this aunt, when everything sucks, I just call her and she thinks that I'm the smartest and everything will happen right for me. And no matter what, she thinks that I'm amazing. So we need those people in our life. So those are cheerleaders. So the size, it depends on the people. I have quite a few people in my board of supporters. With some of them, I talk very regularly. With some of them, I speak less often. With some people, I travel once a year. We go to Italy, and we spend a week discussing our lives in very profound details, and with some people, I speak every week for 30 minutes. So it varies.
So folks listening, take that in, because I think our world, and what I know when I work with folks too, our world gets very insulated to our work.
Yes.
The people we actually spend the most clock time with versus the most impactful time with, perhaps. And being able to have those conversations is freeing. And, it like you said, you maybe spend 30 minutes, but I was counting over the last 10 days. So there's 2 business weeks, more or less. I had probably half a dozen of those conversations with someone said, I just need to chat for 30 minutes, right? And I had one where I reached out and did the same thing. It wasn't profound, but I wanted a sounding board, right? But I don't do it with just anybody. It's someone who I trust. They have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
They'll be honest in whatever that looks like.
Exactly.
And vice versa. But having a place where you can get that is freeing, number one, right? Because you don't feel so isolated. And but I love the cheerleaders too,
What I found, there were a few people in my circle that we would meet socially and we would and then COVID kind of changed a lot of things. And I was in my personal inquiry, how do I communicate with them? Or how do this person that I admire so much, that I think so amazing, how can I have more of them in my life, And actually the biggest breakthrough I had with my brother, because we see each other all the time, but in a family setting with kids, and we never got a chance to talk. And then I created this thing that, why don't we meet once a month for dinner? And oh my God.
Just the two of you, right?
Just the two of us. And I love it. It just changed our relationship, and I think we feel so much closer. And it's not even just be saying something to each other that's so profound. No, it's just this closeness and being each other's life. It's amazing.
Yeah. And but see, that was a very intentional move on your part. You weren't waiting
all about
for it to just
intentionality.
happen. Yeah.
It's all about intentionality, right? So all this work, when we're talking about living your life fully, right? I usually have this skiing analogy. I don't know. Do you ski, Sarah?
I used to till I wrecked my knee, and then it was a lot less enjoyable.
Okay, got it. So, but you will understand the analogy. When people don't know how to ski, somehow our intuitive reaction is to lean back, right? When you lean back, your skis move forward, and you actually don't have any control. Though intuitively, our body wants to move back. What's counterintuitively is moving forward, because it's scary. That's kind of you taking charge of the process. And when you're leaning forward, then you have control, but you have to be have an intention, right, to have control, then at least you have some control, right? So very similarly in life, right? So if most people, most of the time live leaning backwards, and then the way it looks like that, life comes with circumstances and we respond to circumstances. So when the whole life becomes just response to circumstances, good, bad ones, at some point, it feels very disempowering. So what the career leap methodology is rooted into my leap by design philosophy, that you at any moment you can actually design your future in whatever area of life, in whatever you can actually. It requires some self-inquiry. It requires some thought thinking. It's inside some research, some going inside, outside, but you can always design where you want to go. Now, but it's really not about the future, right? If you know where you're going and you have a compass, you have clarity in the present. That's the most beautiful thing, that by designing your future, suddenly like you know exactly what you should and shouldn't do in the now. And then you live with clarity. And that's basically a very different way of living than just responding to circumstances.
So I want you to revisit that, and I'll explain why. That is the one piece, like I think when we say we want to be this in the future, the only way to be that in the future is to be that now in whatever way it shows up. So if I want to be super successful, then it's like, then I need to act that way. I need to, what does success in today's life look like, or healthy, and make those choices. So go back and say that one more time and clarify it within your framework.
Sure. So let's see, like I work with people with career, but at the same thing, we can work on your marriage, on your health. Like I have these sheets of my visions for my life. So it's beyond just being successful. It's just like, so what is the vision for your career? So that's the journey that I take people on discovering who they are, what they want, so they can create their future. I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to be a humanitarian, or I want to be a CEO, or I want to be whatever it is. You just but it's not just random. It's something that comes out from you going through a deep inquiry. So now, if you know that you want to be a CEO, then you got it today. You're like, okay, what do I need to do today in order to become a CEO in 20 years? If you want to be an entrepreneur, then you got to be thinking today, like, what am I doing today? Do I need to take programs? Do I need courses? Do I need to create a business plan? Do I need to find a partner? Then your mind today moves you into that direction. But you can apply the same philosophy to health. I have the whole list of things that I want, how I want my health to look like. I just turned 50 and I was like, I want to, that's how I want to, I want to be able to that. And I want to have these. So I'm living inside today, taking actions towards the vision that I have.
And if things change, you can change as well, but you're not
things
waiting.
Change, yeah.
Yeah, you're not
exactly.
waiting.
I usually tell a very fun story about my personal career exploration. That was over 10 years ago. I woke up one morning and I was like, I know exactly what I want to do with my life. I want to fight terrorism. There was something about it was happening. I was like, that's worthwhile cause. And I got all the books about history of terrorism, and I went to study like another language. And then I reached out. By the way, this is another very important tip. I reached out to one of the most senior women in our company because she transitioned out of working in a private sector. She went to work for a government, and then she came back. So like she will understand. And in our world, that's amazing that the super senior person, and I was just one of the thousands of senior managers just promoted, but now in today's world, if you ask, a lot of people will say yes. So she spent an hour with me and she's like, I so understand it. Like she really got me. Let me introduce you to somebody. The next thing I know, she's introducing me to this person. And then I'm having an interview with CIA, and then I have an interview with FBI. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a job offer from FBI. And when I'm getting my job offer, I'm very clear I don't want it. It just was, I didn't even have to think about it.
Right.
I need to move to another city. I need to get a huge pay cut. I need, there was like, I need to start on the very bottom. And I was like, But the exploration was amazing. And then, yes, as you said, we can change the vision. So then, okay, so that's not it. Okay, let's try something else.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a great story. Okay, I'm going left again on you. You wrote a song. I really want to talk about this because I want to know how autobiographical the lyrics are and how much they frame your philosophy of life. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I have all my songs as rooted into my philosophy of life some time ago. I also can tell you that when I listened to my songs, I was like, who wrote them? I have no idea who that person is.
When I read it, when I listened to it, I thought, but I'd already read all of your other material first. I'm thinking this feels pretty congruent with me, but I wonder, it's that same thing, like who was I when I wrote that? But when you go back to when you wrote and performed Happiness, right? Do you remember the whole message that went throughout that? So at one point in the song, you pivot from searching to knowing. Mm-hmm. In your life, did that happen for you?
Yeah. That song was very reflective of that particular moment where I went through this extraordinary experience, and I was had big revelation. Yeah.
Well, that's what it sounded like. So I wanted to know, is that too personal to share, like how that you got that understanding? Because that was powerful.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I don't know. I did. I don't know whether you've heard about the Landmark Forum.
Landmark?
So the Landmark Forum, it's like this transformational program. So I did it back in 2004. And I remember coming out, it was like, oh my God, I just had a whole new understanding of myself and the world. And I felt like I was carrying this humongous backpack with resentments and upsets and complaints. And I let go of it. And I just felt exhilarating and free. And that song was a reflection of that.
It certainly was a reflection of that. I just thought it was interesting because, people write, for folks who don't have a podcast or whatever, people will pitch you to be on their show and they write all of this stuff. But I always wonder what is the underlying thing for someone. And when I found out that you had written that, I didn't care what was on your other page. I went to that page and listened to the lyrics. I'm going, oh, there's a story here. So I just wanted to ask that because the words are profound. And folks, we'll put Misha's LinkedIn information in there, and you can find that link on his LinkedIn page just to get over to the song if you're interested. But the lyrics are good, and they really do say about your philosophy, even though you've deepened it and gotten more maybe articulate about it. But it still feels very congruent with how you show up today. Do you agree with that?
Was 20. Yeah, that was 20 years ago, So I think that was probably the beginning of that process.
All right. So Misha, as we wrap up, I want to know, is there one or two thoughts you want to make sure you leave the audience with today?
I usually like to finish all my emails with two things, remember to keep exploring and that life is beautiful.
All right. So that's my second to the last question. My next question is, what's next for you? What is pulling you forward that you're exploring besides work?
So the career leap, I really want to make an impact on society level, So right now I'm still in a small bubble, but I truly think that right now I work with a lot of mid-career professionals and executives, but I think my methodology would work for students, for high school students and college students and MBA students and where people want to retire. So I have a lot of work to do to bring my ideas to the world. So I'm grateful to you for giving me an opportunity to talk about the career leap. I'm also very involved with Worldwide Orphans, which is a charity that works with vulnerable kids, orphans, but not only orphans. And about a year ago, I started our organization in Ukraine, where I'm from. So we just celebrated the first year of giving programs to kids with trauma, which is pretty much everybody in Ukraine right now. So I'm very involved with that. I'm raising 3 kids that right now kind of in preteen to teen tween age, which is like full-time job by itself. And I'm just trying to stay healthy and take care of myself to be able to do all these things that I really want to do and realize all the visions that I have for myself.
You have really great energy, and your kids are lucky to have you in their life. And
sometimes.
No, they are. You know, teenagers don't always like to know that, but they are. So, and that's their job, to grow up and be teenagers and do their thing. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast. Where do you really want people to reach out to you? I know everybody has different channels they prefer. What's the best way for folks to connect with you?
If you go to thecareerleap.com, that's my website, has a lot of information about me, about my programs. You can reach out to me there. You can find me on LinkedIn, Misha Rubin. I don't think there's another one. And connect me that way. Those are the two best ways to connect with me.
Okay. With that, I want to thank you for being a guest this week, Misha. I've enjoyed getting to talk to you, pick your brain a little bit, and share you with our audience.
It's my pleasure.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.